Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our software engineering panel. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers, and I can assure you that you will be extremely impressed with their lines of work and career accomplishments. I first wanted to introduce myself. My name is Alejandra, and I'm an Associate Director of Programming for WECode. With us today, we have Pratima Nambiar, a Principal Architect at Salesforce, Lola Roberts, a Senior Software Engineer at Mastercard, and Jessica Walton, a Software Engineer too at Microsoft. So I want to give the opportunity to each speaker to introduce themselves. So Pratima, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sure. I've been with Salesforce for about over 15 years, and prior to that, I've worked in software for manufacturing plants and wealth management software. Salesforce, I don't know if you guys are familiar, is a cloud-based company. We have products in sales, service, marketing, commerce. Slack is also a part of the Salesforce family. You're probably familiar with Slack. I, in the past over 15 years, have worked on various roles within Salesforce on various parts of the technology stack. But my current role, I am the lead architect for building an infrastructure platform, which is a layer above public cloud infrastructure like AWS. It's a layer above that, and below are all our products. So it's a layer in between. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's my role. I'm the architect for the infrastructure platform.
I'm Lola. I'm a Senior Software Engineer for the Crypto and Digital Assets program at Mastercard. I've been with them for 4 years, coming up to 5 years. I joined right out of undergrad after I also interned with them in 2019.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica. I graduated from Harvard in 2021, so it's nice to be back. I was also WECode programming director back in 2019, so super excited to be back. But I work at Microsoft. I'm a software engineer too, and I work in enterprise and cloud under M365 Core. So essentially what I do is help automate and deploy workloads in sovereign clouds, which are essentially clouds that are under different government entities.
Thank you so much for your introductions. So I want to start from the beginning. What initially sparked your interest in software engineering, and how did you decide to pursue it as a career? You can go down the line.
I think my interest in computer engineering started in high school when I took programming lessons, after-school programming lessons. I had a lot of fun with a group of girls. We learned how to program, solve problems. I found that interesting, so I pursued computer engineering and then eventually a career in technology. But what I really love about what I do is the opportunity to solve challenging problems, working on building solutions with a group of people that really have impact. I really enjoy that process, seeing our users love the products that we build. I love the opportunity also to learn new things every day because technology is always evolving. That's it.
Yeah. For myself, it was also in high school. We were mandated to take a computational thinking class, which was where you learned hardware and software. I really fell in love with the software, and it led me down to a robotics and a game designing class. I thought I was going to actually go into those fields, but it kind of ended up in the crypto section by accident, which I love today. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say also like high school for me, maybe like late middle school, I was really a fan of math, and so when I got into high school, my tech teacher had a bunch of electives that I could take, so we had 3D modeling and printing and robotics and things like that, so that's mainly how I got involved. And then he also encouraged me to apply for the NC WIT Aspirations in Computing Award, which I got, so that was super cool to be kind of in this community of women and other people just so invested in technology, and I think that's kind of where it took off. And then, I think kind of going into college and majoring in computer science, I was just really interested in being in such a diverse field where I could solve basically any problem using technology. I thought was really cool. So I studied like education and sociology and economics, but mainly kind of went back to this computer science tech background. And yeah, I'm just really excited to basically solve any problem using technology. So.
Thank you so much for sharing how you all got into software engineering. I want to dig a little deeper. So can you share a pivotal moment in your career that shaped the way you approach software engineering today?
If I were to pick one moment, it would probably be when I first joined Salesforce. Prior to that, I was working on back-end systems, but when I first joined Salesforce, my first project or product that I worked on, I led the building of App Exchange. App Exchange is a marketplace similar to the App Store that you're probably very familiar with on your phone. It is an app marketplace for applications that are built on the Salesforce platform. So I built that product, and I really was introduced to thinking from a consumer perspective. So always thinking of, it's not just about writing code, it's not just about building software, but really building software to think about the consumer and meeting a need that they have and really building to make them successful. So having that ability to build and think from a customer perspective is something I learned there. And I also, App Exchange, by the way, is also built on the Salesforce platform, which means that I got to use the Salesforce platform just like our customers do. So I got firsthand experience on what are the good things about our platform, what's our value proposition, and what are some of the challenges that our customers face with using our platform. So both of those views were very crucial. It helps me even today because thinking from a consumer perspective as I build solutions and really helps me be successful. And if you remember, I said I'm an architect for something that is pretty low in the stack today. I actually don't deal with any of our external customer-facing features, but that consumer-facing view has still helped me build something that our internal developers really enjoy. I'm able to build something of value for them. And I also have a good view of the business, how does everything link to our business proposition or our business value. So I really appreciate that first, the first project of building App Exchange. Yeah.
I think for myself it was probably two. I think when I was in college, I didn't really have a technical internship till my junior to senior year, where I went into Mastercard's one, and that internship really ensured that I was in the right major. I was able, in the 10 weeks, was working on 6 different mini projects, which was a lot of fun. And then when I went full time, I think another one was I was able to be sent to a hackathon through work, and there we presented and did a project that we then brought back to our work and presented it to our higher ups, and kind of we got to see the process of start to finish of conceptualizing the idea, trying to meet a customer need, and kind of seeing that full process. And I think with the company, we get that, but as a lower engineer, somewhat like you're kind of siloed into a somewhat less creative ability, and I liked how those two opportunities brought out my creativeness in it also.
Awesome. Yeah, I think for me, my experience is kind of more recently in terms of what shifted my view of software engineering. I switched managers, but I'm working on the same project, and it's been really cool to kind of just see how differently they view engineering, because I feel like my first manager was more so very deep into the code and kind of knew exactly what everyone was doing, and my new manager is more so approaching things with an agile type of framework, and so really focusing on moving efficiently and just doing things in the right way, and especially focusing on planning and prioritizing our work. And I feel like that's just made a huge difference in how the team runs and how the engineering work gets done, because I feel like when I was graduating from college, I was kind of like, oh, I'm a software engineer, like I'm just gonna code all day and that's it. And then now I feel like especially now I'm really being challenged of like, oh wait, what are our priorities? Like how are we planning? Like you both said, like how are we prioritizing our customer and how are we prioritizing our work? So I think that's been really helpful for me.
Thank you all so much for your responses. Pratima, I want to ask you a question. What do you see as the next big challenge for computer architects working in cloud-first organizations, and how do you envision approaching these challenges?
Yeah, so a little bit of history. So Salesforce has always been a cloud-first company. By that I mean, we pioneered running cloud CRM, which is customer relationship management software. What I mean by that is we don't give our software to our customers. We actually run it for them in our data centers. So we run it as we provide our service as a software as a service. That means you get automatic upgrades and et cetera. So you don't have to actually install the software in your own machines. So we pioneered that concept of cloud computing. But then by the past maybe about 15 or 20 years, we've been doing it in our own data centers. But in the past few years, companies like AWS and Google and Microsoft came out with infrastructure as a service with self-serve features to sort of for you to self-serve and use compute, storage, and networking. And we decided that we are going to switch to that. So we are in the process of moving all our customers from our from our own data centers to public cloud. And one way you could do that is, tell all the thousands of engineers, go figure it out yourself. It's self-serve after all. Go log in and get your AWS account and start using it. But then those thousands of engineers would then have to worry about how do I build all the security controls in place? What are the availability patterns that I need to implement for resilience or reliability of my software? How do I think about achieving cost efficiency, because it's expensive? It can get expensive to use public cloud. How do you achieve cost efficiency while still being able to scale? How do I make a decision on how much of public cloud to use, because you want to manage the amount of the risk of vendor lock-in? How do I meet my compliance requirements? So there's a lot of things, a lot of non-functional things that you have to think about if you were to do it, if all the engineers were to do this themselves. But remember, their primary responsibility is actually to build features for our external customers. So that is a lot to ask of them. So what we did is, the other way you could solve the problem is we invested in an infrastructure platform. And this layer, this is an infrastructure platform that has all of these non-functional requirements built in. That layer is thinking about security, compliance, availability patterns, how do you achieve cost efficiency, et cetera. You build all of that into that layer. And all our internal engineers that are building products for our external customers build on top of that infrastructure platform. And then you have public cloud under, right? So we are investing in this so that our engineers can deliver customer-facing features fast and be able to innovate fast. So that's how we are approaching that, and that's kind of what my role is right now. Yeah.
Amazing. Building scalable and secure software is no small feat. It requires balancing performance, security, and evolving user needs. Each of you has tackled these challenges in different ways. And to start, what have been the most significant obstacles you've faced, and how did you navigate them? We can go in reverse order.
Yeah. Okay, sure. I think, so for me, kind of like Pratima was saying, I also work with internal teams, and so we're mainly working on building clouds that are secure and available to our customers, and so that offers a lot of challenges in terms of a lot of the clouds that we build out they're not necessarily available to like all of our engineers, so you need some type of clearance to access the clouds. And so especially like the cloud that we're working on building out now, essentially we have a certain clearance for a certain amount of time, and then eventually we'll get to a point where we cut to red, and then the engineers, and then we'll hand it off to other engineers. So it really makes us have to work on availability and making it be able to scale appropriately so that whenever we aren't able to essentially manually deploy things in these clouds, then we have to work on, well, how are people going to automate these deployments? And so how are people going to continue to maintain and work on these clouds if the engineers who are currently working on them don't have access to them? So I think that definitely poses a lot of challenges and maybe even risks when you hand over that cloud and you're not able to work on it anymore. And so essentially what our team is doing is working on those automation pipelines and being able to deploy in an efficient manner so that we won't have to manually essentially deploy all of these Office products into these Azure clouds. So yeah, I think that's definitely challenging and definitely requires an entire team of people working on that. And so it's been really cool to collaborate with a bunch of different people who are working on that. So
yeah, I think sorry, I think for my job, it's more of, we have government regulations, and being in Mastercard, we have a lot of Mastercard standards. So it's more of mapping out the variables and the different kind of private data that we're using and ensuring that it's encrypted and everything's that we're storing is allowed and it's matching the gold standard of our company. And also, we're following the legal and regulations, which is thankfully dealt with another team, and we just get told what to encrypt and kind of what we need to protect for us.
Yeah, so there is a lot that goes into building scalable, secure software. So we could, spend a whole day talking about it. But if I were to pick, two things, especially for you guys. So one thing that we did as we moved to public cloud is we moved all our applications. So just to give you a little bit of background, Salesforce has, from all our products, we have thousands of services that make up all of those products. So just to give you a sense of the scale, thousands of services, thousands of developers or engineers working on those services. So we invested in the compute platform that we are using is called Kubernetes. You can look that up later if you aren't familiar with it. We decided that we are going to be Kubernetes first so that we can leverage the ability of horizontally scaling. So let's say you have thousands of services, and a subset of those services are in the path of a customer request. Each of those services, that is each application, depending on the number of requests it gets, you want to be able to expand and be able to take on more and more requests. So that's, you want to be able to horizontally scale your service. So as the demand increases, you want to be able to have more copies of your service running. So Kubernetes allows you to do that. It gives you horizontal scale. So without human touch, you can actually configure it so it can horizontally scale. And you can also achieve research. You can optimize the way you use your resources, that is CPU and memory, so that you're cost efficient. So that's one thing that we invested in to be able to scale. The second related to security, and security has a ton of things. Like I said, you could talk about it for a whole day. But if I were to pick one thing, along with Kubernetes, we also invested in something called Service Mesh, which is let me describe the problem as briefly as I can before I talk about why Service Mesh is relevant here. So let's say you have thousands of services, and two services have to talk to each other to serve a customer request. You have you can't have that communication be if it's over the network, it's risky because a hacker can go in and do something. They can intercept that traffic. So you have to think about security there. You have to think about, if these two services, one of them just keeps restarting, how do you make sure that your customer's request is being successful? So in order to resolve these types of problems at scale for thousands of services, we've invested in something called Service Mesh. So what happens is there's something running right next to each one of these services that has all of the technology built in to have resilient traffic and secure traffic, so that you're able to achieve building secure software at scale. Yeah.
Thank you. Lola, I want to ask you a question. Is there anything that you can share with our guests about the unique opportunities you have encountered as a software engineer working in Mastercard's crypto and digital assets department? And how do you see the role of crypto evolving within the financial technology landscape?
Yeah, I mean, so kind of as I said before, I went into Mastercard not knowing anything about blockchain at all. And kind of from the team I got put on, we were just an R&D, research and development team, and then we got kind of pulled out into this crypto and digital assets. From there on the job, I got to learn Solidity, which is a smart contract language. So I got to learn that on the job, which was cool. I think for where crypto is going, in my opinion, I think it's going to go bigger. I think we're going to see a lot more stable coins come into play, and we'll see, I think, banks kind of starting to use that since their customers will probably want it. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't going anywhere, but I don't think they're necessarily going to become, the main retail transactions for that. I think it'll either stay fiat or go more towards stablecoin, which is backed by fiat money.
Thank you. And Jessica, you touched a bit on the challenges that are involved with deploying Microsoft 365 services in foreign clouds. Is there anything else that you can add on to that, and how the automation pipeline handles security and data residency requirements unique to sovereign clouds?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think one thing I could add is I think something that we're really working on now is just determining cloud parity between all of the different clouds that Microsoft both has available and is pushing out soon. And yeah, I think kind of just like what I said earlier in terms of all the different restrictions that are pushed on the clouds in terms of the engineers that are available and are cleared to be able to work on them, and then just all the different requirements like security regulations, compliance regulations, and all of that. So it's definitely important to just keep familiar with all of those different requirements, as well as continuing to meet our customer demand and keep that customer focus in terms of being able to deliver as much as we can for each of the cloud and each of our customers. So I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges of how do you both deal with the restrictions that apply and also deal with the demand of meeting every customer's need in an equal way. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have. And in terms of there's kind of the security and data compliance demands. I think it's definitely complicated. I feel like my role isn't especially on that, so I think, it's more so, there's a lot of planning obviously that goes into just making sure that everything is compliant and that the security regulations are met, but I think it's a little over my head, so yeah.
Thank you so much. I now want to shift into looking ahead. How do you see AI and machine learning shaping the future of software development, and what should engineers focus on to stay ahead?
We've started using AI, our engineers have started using AI as they program. So we have AI deployed, AI assistants deployed along with our IDEs, so that our engineers are now starting to use it to help them code, help them be more productive. If you want to pull in a new library, or you want to and quickly get up to speed on how to use it, writing tests, writing more automation or refactoring code. So we're starting to use AI for engineers are starting to use AI to be more productive. That's one thing that's happening. The other thing that's happening at least within Salesforce, is we are starting to think about more personalized user experiences as we build products, because we can leverage AI to do that. And then I think, generally AI, gives you a lot of opportunities, right? One of the things I really love about the technology space is that it's evolving all the time. So that means there's always something to learn, and this is one of those waves. So AI presents a lot of opportunities. For example, you could either choose to do AI research and actually build some of the frameworks that are being built. And it's not just the companies that you hear about in the news that are doing AI research. There are other companies that are also doing AI research. They have their own divisions. For example, Salesforce has an AI research division where we are building our own models, and we're building our own frameworks as well. The other angle is you can use AI to, you can be at the forefront of actually bringing AI into products, right? Like it's actually making something useful out of, building something useful out of AI. You could be at the forefront of that. For example, we launched Agentforce a few months ago, and we brought in AI agents into all of our products. So all of our products today have AI agents, and we are able to create agents to make employees or customers successful. So this is about more application of AI to actually serve a certain user need. I would, if I were you, I would recommend that you embrace AI. Go and explore what it can do. If you haven't tried it out yet, I would encourage all of you to go try it out. Go try it out and see what it can do, what it cannot do, because then you can decide and you can think about how you can augment what AI can do. You can augment with your own intelligence. So you can have, let's say, a software engineer with an AI assistant on one side, and then you have a software engineer with no AI knowledge on the other side. Who do you think is going to win? Right? The software engineer who's learned how to use AI to be more productive is going to win. He's going to take the job of a software engineer who decides to stay stagnant and not learn. So I encourage all of you to go try AI and sort of learn how to use it and understand how you can augment with your own intelligence.
Yeah, I think to kind of build off, I think it's more of you have to embrace it. I think it's not going anywhere. I think we all saw the rise in ChatGPT and DeepSeek and everything. I think it's more of just ensuring that you are up to date on the most kind of technology and then kind of just making that technology work for you. So kind of to your point is like, I don't think you need to specialize in AI, but it's more of just like know how to ask the right questions so it can enable you to best do your job. So kind of instead of you having to work, asking ChatGPT a ton of questions, kind of narrowing down what's the best route of questioning to for ChatGPT to give you the answer in the most efficient way that can help you with your job.
Yeah, definitely echo everything that both of you said. I think in terms of my day-to-day work, I really enjoy using like GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot and just being able to write unit tests really quickly and kind of code on the job. I think it's also really helpful in sorting through emails, sorting through chats when I'm trying to find documentation that before might have taken me like, a couple hours to find, I can find in 5 minutes. So I think it's been really helpful to be able to kind of sort through information and sort through code in a much faster way. Definitely agree with what both of you said in terms of, just using it to your benefit and being able to just capitalize on all the knowledge that is available now that we're able to do things in a faster way using LLMs. I'm also getting a part-time master's in data science too, so I think also just being able to learn as much as you can, outside of the job has been super helpful. And I think Microsoft too has just a bunch of events for people to learn more about Copilot and machine learning. I've been to like some conferences and they have just a lot of different resources for people who aren't necessarily working directly on tools like Copilot or GitHub Copilot or things like that. And so I think, even though I'm not directly working on these tools in my day-to-day world, I think there's a lot of opportunities to be able to explore what's out there, like both for someone within a company, but also out there in the ether, I guess. There's a lot of information, and so would definitely recommend to learn more.
Thank you all so much. I want to end by directly addressing those just starting their careers in software engineering. Navigating these hurdles and spotting opportunities can feel daunting. So what advice would you give to newcomers looking to grow in the field?
I'd say get as much of hands-on experience coding as possible, like building real applications either in college or via internships. Get as much hands-on experience with coding and using AI to your benefit so you can learn fast. and some of those internships may, get converted to new hires, or they may not. But you at least you're building that experience of actually like writing code for something real. Networking, that's it's obvious, but networking is another. Just be putting yourself out there so you can find these opportunities, and then once you've found your job, I wouldn't just focus. I wouldn't just focus on just growing technically, because the obvious thing is, yes, I'll have to become better as a technical person, and you probably will do that. So definitely do that, but also think about the other aspects. You have to grow in as a. You have to build the domain expertise of whatever domain that you pick. You have to build the industry expertise. Like if you go into a financial services sector, understand the domain of the financial services sector so you can build software that meets the need. So building that muscle and soft skills, right? It's not all about coding. There's a lot more to building software than coding. In fact, I'd say half of building software, the challenges with building software are actually dealing with people. So learning how to deal with people and how do you influence your peers, how do you influence your stakeholders, et cetera, is a skill that you have to, it takes time. You have to learn as you go. And I wouldn't just focus on just the technical aspects. I would focus on these soft skills. Find a mentor, as you're going through challenging situations, talk to someone so you can, that you can get their help to sort through it. That's it.
I think to kind of build off, I think you really expressed it. I think soft skills are really becoming important more. It's you can learn on the job. I think a lot of the time is you'll build up your engineering skills in your job. I think what you're learning in school is the foundational, but kind of what you're going to do in your job is very different kind of than the practical stuff that we did in school. I think for mentorship, I think it's really important, but I would say one key thing about mentorship is find a female mentor. They'll help you specifically kind of navigate through the female eye. You can ask a guy, but they will give you respectfully a guy answer, which doesn't always work for us in the companies. Just because if we do the same thing as guys do, we are looked at differently, unfortunately, still. And then, I'd say those two big ones.
Yeah, definitely agree with all of that. I think in terms of kind of the internships job search, I think maybe some advice that I would give is just not being so worried about getting like the perfect internship in college to lead to the best full-time job. I didn't intern with like Microsoft at all before working there full-time, and I did some internships with the Department of Defense, so like more government tech-based, and then I did research through college one summer. So I think companies just really appreciate just having a diverse range of experiences, and like we said earlier, just focusing on projects and focusing on growing your knowledge too. I think in college and extracurricular in terms of the projects that you work on and the people that you're involved in, the clubs that you're in, I think can definitely take you a long way. And it's not necessarily important to work at some big tech company for some summer internship, because especially you're not really getting a full experience of like what it is to do on the job in like this 10-week program. But if you are able to get those experiences, I think obviously take the best advantage of them as you can, like as you said, like network and find mentorship and do that regardless of what your internship is. I think you can really just find a broad perspective of experiences through really anyone you talk to. Like definitely talk to us afterwards, talk to just any of the speakers, any of the attendees at the conference. I think will give you a lot of advice too. So just take full advantage.
Thank you all so much for answering the questions that we had for you. I now want to open it up to our audience to ask questions for our speakers. So the best way that this is going to happen, I'm going to ask that people who have questions line up over here right next to this first pew. And what we can go ahead and do is create a line going back, and then we'll go ahead and pass the mic back. We might not have time to answer everyone's questions, but
Is it okay if I ask multiple?
sure.
Okay. Hi, so I have multiple questions. Sorry, bear with me, please. I remember you were talking about a software engineer who would like work with AI. They would like definitely excel better at their job than a software engineer who doesn't know how to leverage AI properly. How would that exactly look like? Because I've generated code with AI before. It's not necessarily always good, and it could hover between the line between, oh, am I actually making the code by myself or am I just making the AI write it? How would that exactly look like? How do I exactly use it?
Be more of, I would say, less to generate code. I think if you're generating, it's more of a base code. It's not something that you should just paste into your code. It should be kind of a building block to it's a framework to start off of. More of what I'm thinking about AI is more of asking it, like if in my job I thought I'd be coding consistently, I think I do half of it is researching what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's more of understanding the best practices within, either Java, Solidity, of what's the best route to go from there, and that's how I'm using AI, less for actually generating the base code.
So I'll be doing mostly the coding and
Yeah.
it'll basically help with me making the
Exactly.
faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think snippets of code is what you will get from it, right?
Yeah.
And remember, AI is also it's getting better. So obviously the answer will be different 6 months from now, but you're not completely letting AI do everything. Yeah. So yeah.
Also, this might be a bit of a controversial question, but how generative AI, it uses a lot of energy. It makes me kind of feel guilty the few times I do use AI. So what is your take on that? What do you have opinions on that?
Could you ask the question again? I didn't.
Generative AI does produce a lot of, it does use a lot of water and it wastes a lot of energy in this sense. What would you have to say about that? I understand it's a powerful tool. It's a very weird feeling for me too, but yeah. I just want to know your opinion. It's not
I think, it's, so every company has to think about that. And at Salesforce, one of the values, so Salesforce has core values. I mean, every company does, but one of our core values is sustainability. So how do we make sure that what we are doing, we are using the environment in a responsible way? So we're trying to do things towards that. I mean, I don't have the full list of things that we actually do, but as a company, we are a conscious effort that is one of our values, and that we have to make a conscious effort in how we use the environment.
Also, time management, because I understand the college curriculum is designed in a way you would also have to work on your own projects, work on your own skills. That takes up a lot of time. How would you suggest someone approach time management for that? Because I feel the best way to learn is by doing, but also that takes time. How would you make time for that in your day? What would you say is the best advice for that, I guess?
I think it's mainly just working on things that you actually enjoy doing. Don't necessarily force it. If you don't want to do it, then I would think that you would make time for the things that you want to make time for, and if you want to work on a project that's stimulating for you and you enjoy doing, then hopefully you'll be able to make time for that, and it won't feel like something that's stressful or burdensome, because if it's stressful, then you probably don't want to talk about it in an interview, or you don't want to just talk about all the great things that you're working on. And so I don't know if that's super helpful, but I think just doing it if you enjoy it, but if you don't enjoy it, then don't do it.
Also, regarding networking to specifically hiring managers, how do you approach that? I understand networking as a whole is okay, you talk to someone, you make conversation, and then you learn from each other almost. But when it comes to hiring managers, what would you say is the best way to approach that?
Did you want to answer?
I was going to go the other way. I think for networking, it's more of just kind of network to anyone, and then kind of it'll lead. I think it's more important for if you're doing a hiring manager, it's less of I would say a formal network. It's more of just keep in contact. Whereas I think, meeting anyone within the company can help you get a foot in the door for that.
Yeah, cool. I'm done. So, thank you though.
Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Divya. I'm a CS student from Michigan State University. Thank you so much for this panel. It was really informative. I'm personally really interested in cloud and site reliability engineering, so it was really amazing to hear you talk about software as a service, Kubernetes, and things like that. So my question to you is, what would be your advice to someone who's trying to break into cloud computing in the corporate world, and what would be your tips and suggestions for that?
I'd say get familiar with using public cloud. I think that will help you, have that knowledge, and so that's, preferred. Beyond that, just I think I think that's it. Like because you have the accessibility to actually try out things now easily, with public cloud, I think that it'll help you, become. It'll help you learn in your own time. I think that I'd recommend that.
And do you think certifications really help when applying to internships and new grad roles in cloud computing?
I think they're seen as a positive. It's not necessarily a must, but a positive. One advantage of those certifications is the fact that you have to, there's a structure to the learning, so therefore there's the better chance that you actually consume the content. So yeah, there is some value to it, but it's not usually a must. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Aisha, and I'm a CS Cyber and Data Science student at URI. And my question is more for you, Jessica, because you mentioned that you work for the DoD at one point. So can you talk a little bit more about what you did and how you were able to land that position?
Yeah, so I actually applied to a program in high school, and it was kind of a scholarship program. So essentially, I was admitted, and then I kind of agreed to intern with them during my years in college. So a little kind of unconventional, but in terms of like applying for the positions, I know that there's a lot online. If you just look up Department of Defense, like college open positions, they have a bunch of college hire positions that you can intern at. But in terms of my experience, I would say I definitely had a good experience. I did more like research my first summer, so ML research and looking at optical character recognition. And then the second summer, I did more so like capabilities, so looking at different web traffic and things like that. Yeah, it's definitely a kind of less routine route of doing technical work. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me or like connect with me on LinkedIn afterwards if you want to learn more. But yeah, that's kind of my experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Gabriela, and I'm a CS at Minerva University in the Bay Area. I have a question about international students, since I'm one of those. What advice would you give to someone navigating the immigration process, and what would you prioritize in your early career if you were an international?
Yeah, I don't have that experience, so I wouldn't be able to. I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah. How about you guys? Do you have any?
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have that experience either, so I definitely don't want to speak on it. But yeah, I mean, if there's any way, yeah, maybe we could do some more research. But yeah, so sorry.
If there's anything specific, maybe we
Yeah.
can, we can try to find out later.
Yeah.
Okay,
We should try.
I can connect on LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you so
yeah,
much.
definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, I'm Dakota. I go to SUNY New Paltz in New Paltz, New York. The question I have is, like, how much of your job actually requires is literally just coding? Like, how much time are you like just spending coding?
I'll answer it for when you first join as an engineer, you're probably doing a lot more coding. But then as you get to the next levels, you do less coding, but you're actually doing more guidance and reviewing others' code. You can still continue, and if in a few years later, you can still continue to write code if you want to, but you may not, but then it shifts to doing more design work. So it starts to become lesser and lesser. There are some people who still want to, after many years, they still, because they like it so much, they still want to code. But the answer to your question is, I write zero code today. I don't write code at all. I spend most of my time working with engineers, solving problems, talking to them, getting them together to design solutions or architecting. I spend my time drawing diagrams and writing papers because I'm trying to communicate certain ideas and how we should design. So I do not write any code, but there are people that are my level that do write code because they prefer doing that. So it changes, like I said, as you go through the years, it changes.
I would say it ebbs and flows. I think on an average, I would say probably no more than like 3 hours of actual coding. I think kind of when you start off, you're going to be coding a lot more, but not necessarily as you're doing more. I think it's just because you're less efficient with coding. So it kind of, as you get kind of higher you become more efficient, you can write code faster. So kind of that time that you're spent coding gets smaller as you get higher.
Yeah, I definitely echo all of that. I think, yeah, I probably spend maybe like 2 to 3 hours a day actually coding. It also ebbs and flows. Yeah, there are some periods of time where I'm not really coding at all and I'm not really producing any PRs, but I'm maybe guiding other people or, yeah, designing work or doing a lot of research on what I'm actually supposed to be doing. So, yeah. A lot of Googling. Or,
Okay, thank you.
ChatGPT, Copilot. Yeah.
You have to actually, there's just no, you can't just, it's just like you can't just simply write. You actually have to think before you can think of what to write. So there's thinking involved as well, and yeah.
Hello, my name is Naima. I'm also from SUNY New Paltz in New York. I really appreciated your panel, and I also noticed that all three of you guys are in positions or at jobs that we all aspire to be at in the future. So I wanted to ask, how did you come across these opportunities? And also, how did you kind of, I guess, make yourself seem different from other applicants when you did apply to certain opportunities that you got?
Yeah. So I've been working, for so many years. I can't speak to, my early days, early years, because it probably isn't relevant. But the one thing that the way I joined Salesforce was because I worked with someone in the past, and we worked really well together, and I was able to show a lot of value, and therefore when he joined Salesforce, he wanted me to join as well, right? So I'd say one of the things, once you get a job, focus on adding value. Focus on making the thing that you own really successful. Focus on, they should see you as, as a valuable member of the team, and if you are thinking from the consumer perspective, solving problems in time, and you're adding value to the company, you're going to get more and more bigger roles because they will see the value, right? And along the way, you will build relationships with people who will become your advocates. Today I have people because I've been with the company for so long, I have people in different parts of the company that would advocate for me because they know how I work and what my brand value is. So that helps. So focusing on adding value and building out your personal brand will make you successful. Yeah.
Do any of you guys want to speak as well?
For me, kind of similar, I also got a referral to Microsoft. So someone I had interned with in college was basically there. He was a few years above me and ended up asking if I wanted a referral, and I was like, sure. So that's essentially how I got there, but I would definitely echo just it's really important to build your network early on because you never know like where other people are going to end up or where you might want to end up in the future. And so I think, yeah, just wherever you are, just being able to build that network is really important, and especially when you're thinking about building out your career and wanting to make impact. I think, well, the more impact you're going to have with the more people you know. So it's really just about making friends and being able to connect with other people.
Yeah, I got mine through a referral also. So I think it's just more of, anyone you know can help you. And I think once you're in a job, it's not just your team, but you should also be connecting with other people outside your team to also help kind of promote you in other ways.
And don't feel that you're pressured to find the job right away out of college, right? Like what you said earlier, find a job where you can show value and be successful. It doesn't have to be in your dream company to begin with. Don't put that pressure on you. And once you build that expertise and build the experience, you can then switch and do something else, and you can grow from there. So keep that in mind.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Adriana, and I'm a first-year student at Smith College. And my question for you is a little bit broad, but would you suggest just first exploring the sphere and then specializing, or would you suggest specializing early on so that when you're applying to some positions, you
know exactly what you want, or what would be your thoughts on that?
I guess, do you have any more, like, are you interested in some specific, like, specialty?
Right now, I'm just kind of interested in software engineering more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was that way. I also went to Smith College. I would say use internships as the way to kind of narrow down where you want to go. So throughout the summer, I'm not saying you need an internship your freshman year. It's okay if you don't. I didn't get a first technical internship till my junior year, but it's more of use that as an opportunity to see if you want to go into back end, if you want to go into front end, if you want to go into cybersecurity, kind of. And when you get that internship, kind of talk to other people within all the different kind of areas that or specialties that you'd be interested, and find out on a one-on-one what does their day look like, and see if you can kind of narrow down from there. I don't think you need to go specific right now unless you absolutely know you want to go
And I
one
think
direction.
even after you join the company, after your internship, let's say you pick something based on that, you can still switch, right? So you have to gain a little bit of experience to know what you like and don't like, and then you can move around. The other thing that you can do is, like, you work for a few years in one kind of technology space, and then you can move to a different one. You don't have to necessarily do the same thing for the rest of your life. You could do that, for a few years. I'm a back-end engineer, and now I switch to being a front-end engineer, or now I'm a data engineer. You can switch. Obviously, it's easier to switch if you're in a big company, because then there's all of those there's opportunities. Don't feel compelled that you have to figure it out in the next 2 years or in your first 2 years of your job. You can switch.
So just don't put pressure into myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't put
yes to opportunities. So if you get an opportunity to try something new, say yes, see if you like it, and kind of let that guide you. It doesn't need to be a straight and narrow path.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Hi, my name is Ishita. I'm a junior at Dartmouth, double majoring in CS and bio. And I guess I have a sort of general question that I ask all my mentors, but what is something you wish you knew before you got into this career? I think, for example, like a SWE job is not all about coding, and that's only a small percentage of your time is a good one, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I kind of already said it. Going into software engineering, I did not know that it was not all about coding. That was one. It's a lot more than coding. And like I said, I don't write code anymore, so that's that. And there is, again, as I said I said it before, the soft skills matter. They especially matter as you become higher up in the company. How are you able to influence matters? How do you communicate? How do you write? All of those things matter. So build your soft communication skills. Learn how to tailor your message to the audience. How you speak to an exec versus, like, let's say a peer is very different. So you have to practice that. It comes over time. I think we touched upon the business, building that business acumen and business domain expertise. All of that matters. Coding matters. You're learning how to solve problems absolutely matters, but all of these other things matter too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my thing is that I wish I had asked for more help earlier on versus waiting maybe for someone to ask me if I need help. I think that I kind of started working fully remotely, and I still work fully remotely for the past 3.5 years or so that I've been at Microsoft. And so I think especially starting as an early career person, like in this fully remote space, it's definitely a bit hard for someone to ask for help and essentially know who to ask for help in the first place. And so I think just not being afraid to ask, because people are really excited to answer people's questions, and I love answering people's questions if I know the answer. So I'm sure that people who I would have asked would have been really happy and eager to answer these questions, but I was kind of afraid, and like in my own little home desk, just not really knowing anybody. So I think, just mainly just not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think I kind of take the rule of thumb of try to solve the problem for like 30 to 45 minutes. If you can't, you know, kind of construct a question of kind of walk through of what you've done and then ask like, you know, I'm thinking this, this isn't working, how would you approach it? I think that's really what I wish I knew, because I would used to ask like, oh, I don't know. And it kind of came off of like, what do you mean? So kind of, it didn't show the critical thinking that you'd already put in. But I think it's just kind of, you know, ask in a timely manner. Like 45 minutes is okay, ask then. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you all again for joining us today. Can we please give another round of applause for our speakers? If you have any questions for them, we ask that you please hold on to them until we exit the building, since we will have another event in here shortly. So thank you again for your incredible insights. Thank you.